Good morning. I think we skipped the fall weather and went straight to winter. It was a bone-chilling 40 degrees this morning. Terrible when you're a summer person. My hilarious wife this morning was joking about how 45 degrees feels great in March when it happens. When it happens in October, it feels miserable. The cold is to be expected. The only concerning part is that I've not winterized my sprayer yet, which is arguably very important. We don't actually have a frost in the forecast in the 10 days that I can see, so we're good for now. Gotta make a trip to the fuel tank. Can't forget the government juice. To give you a little perspective, we are completely done cutting soybeans. We're a third to 3/8 of the way done picking corn. With no rain in the forecast, at least for 5 or 6 days, we should be able to get pretty close to done by the middle to the end of next week. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Maybe I jinxed us. Who knows?
Damn it. I don't have the time finding things this morning.
It's just your old age. Yep, you guessed it. Since we're close to home, we can get the grain away. It is a 2-machine type of day.
Cylinder speed, Kate. 310. Put it on 300.
Perfect timing. We were just about to catch the trucks and then Katie sheared an auger bolt, so that'll slow us down just a little bit. Bolts on the farm, on the combine.
Go north a little bit.
If you look off in the distance to the east, you can see the boss man in red climbing up there where they're setting that auger to the next 36-foot grain bin. Moving on to our next storage location. I actually don't know if I've driven this combine with a 12-row corn head at all. I was planning on picking a little bit. Now that I look at what's left, I'll just let Katie finish that off. Keep this combine empty. For whatever it's worth, the shared dry yield between both combines on the entirety of this 220-acre field is 248. Moisture is 15.8%, so when we get the final weight on the grain cart, we'll have to shrink it about 1% and a quarter to get it down to the actual dry bushels. I'm not privy to the game plan right now. We'll either move to this cornfield over here or this cornfield about half mile to the southeast. Either way, we're going to be in this area. Keep in mind, although this field is 220 acres in totality, all we've harvested today is the last 40 acres. We did the first 180 plus or minus a few the other day before our last big run of beans when we had that shower. You know the auger's set to the new bin when the boss man shows up with the semi truck. I would say, based on the direction of the combine's travel right now, we are going to the southwest field over here. It only took a week of waiting, but we finally get the results from that big 220-acre field. 247 bushel an acre wet. Take about 1% off of that. Makes it 244 and change. Again, very respectable corn yields we've been having so far. Although that is one of our more productive fields, historically speaking. It's hard to say specifically what area of the field was better. Historically, this area here, this dog leg shaped part of the 220 is the best. Have a little drainage issues on the south end, so it never really yields that well. Multiple different hybrids out here. A lot of it was Pioneer 116 day 1608. We had some DeKalb 6465, among other things. So everything seemed to perform decently. It wouldn't quite be fall if we didn't run into issues with the drive over pit loading the auger back at home base. So as opposed to everyone just sitting here because we're getting backed up, got plenty of grain sitting in the cart, we're all just gonna go investigate. Katie and Dad are gonna move another auger to a different bin site while we've got a big backlog of grain to get off on the bins, and I'm gonna load the trucks back at the field. Because we were in a hurry when we left the field, Dad's combine had to stay running because it was regenning. Something to do with saving the environment, I don't know. Darn, I was headed to make my second attempt to pick corn today, and then I saw Dad and Katie rolling back up the lane and figured I had to yield to the main operator. On to the next one. I just dumped off the last bit of corn from that field of DeKalb 6289. Made 229 bushel an acre dry. That's not really a super productive cornfield. I'm not sure why, because it's a decent soil type. I don't know if it's too wet or if there's some kind of underlying issue that we've never really fixed, but 229, 230 for that farm this year. We'll take it. We are about halfway done with a field of DeKalb 6357. Running a little bit better than the 6289 on the previous field, although the half of the field we picked so far is really good dirt, always yields well. What we're getting into on the eastern half to third of this farm, very light, rolling, not good ground for a dry year, so we'll see how that yield holds. The second combine is parked. Dad's combine, he went up because we filled another bin. I don't know if he's going to set the auger to a new bin tonight, or we're just going to load everything and shut down, take care of it in the morning. Either way, it's Saturday. I just had my feet kicked up in the grain cart, watching some college football. Pretty nice day. It's that time of year where first thing in the morning you absolutely need a jacket or a vest. Around midday, you probably could do without it. You'll get a little sweaty if you're working outside. And then once the sun sets, you're gonna hope you still have that jacket slash vest nearby because it gets freezing again. Filling the truck and quitting for the night. Love to hear it. Saturday night, go home and spend some time with the family. The auger's set. It'll probably be midday before we even get down this way. We'll have to bring the drive over pit too, so it's not completely ready to go, just close. Looks like my grandpa's just down the road from us, cutting some beans, it appears. A perfect start. A perfect start to the morning.
What happened if you try to help your neighbor on the phone?
Yeah, Dad was talking on the phone. Now he's got cab corn on the roof. Both machines are running full speed on this Sunday morning. We'll have the rest of the 6357 DeKalb knocked out and move on to another field soon. Last pass to this field. Here's the final numbers on that field. DeKalb 6374, 226 bushel an acre dry. Again, that's okay for that farm. Played out exactly like I predicted. Relatively stellar yields through this area. You get along the tree lines and into the lighter areas of the field. Just not good yields between the soil and the deer feeding and probably the trees sucking out some moisture. You lose a lot of yield. We've got a little bald eagle surveying our work here, maybe looking for an easy snack. look at that. Great minds think alike. Neighbor's right next door to us, shelling some corn with his gleaner. The field they're on right now is 20 acres, not super productive ground. You're not going to pick a ton of corn, both in yield and just combine average throughput, because there's a lot of turning, short rows, whatever. I'm moving one of the semis back up closer to home. Once they get that picked, we will be moving on to some bigger fields down south of Lakeland. Okay, I'm taking the empty to the field. Jeff's going to dump that, and then he'll bring it. What this farm lacks in soil quality, it definitely makes up somewhat with a large amount of historical cow manure applied. You can see from this old harvest store directly to our right, this is where one of my family's feedlots were once upon a time. 226, not bad for that crappy old dirt, literally. This north 36-foot bin has room for about 10 to 11,000 more bushel of corn. Unfortunately, we don't have anything around here of the same split, and for now we're just going to move the drive over once these are empty down to that auger in Etna so we can fill right next to the farm for picking over there. I'm about to head that way right now with the grain cart. Katie's waiting patiently for her turn at the fuel barrel, and then I assume she'll join Dad and I down at the new field. All right, this is the field we're about to pick once we get everything set up. 122-ish acres plus or minus a few south of Lakeland College, right east of Interstate 57, affectionately referred to as the cell tower field because we have a cell tower on here. Not our cell tower, but it is on our property, so that's why I would call it the cell tower field. We're just getting the combine and the cart to the field. Katie will be behind us shortly. We're gonna go get the auger set, or at least the drive over, because there's no reason to start the truck behind. Speaking of both combines, that's the one thing that complicates any of the trials I've done this year for both corn and soybeans. The yield monitors aren't exactly simultaneous or together in terms of calibration, so there's no guarantee if one combine cuts a strip or picks a strip and the other one does the same that the yields are comparable metrics. Really, if you want accurate trial data, you gotta weigh stuff and do all this. I wish our combines were a little bit more accurate in terms of yield. The S780 is pretty good. Or I guess it doesn't even really matter that they're more accurate in yield, more so just that they're the same degree of off. So if one's 10 bushels less than the actual yield, it'd be nice if the other one was 10 bushels less. In a perfect world, it would be that way. I think the closest you can get to that is the precision planning yield sense. They put a special cup or paddle in the clean grain elevator going up to the top. It's supposed to be really accurate. Then again, you got to run their extra monitor, you got to pay for the hardware. You're already paying for an expensive combine. It seems like a lot to add on top for data that's somewhat important, but at the end of the day, you can kind of throw it away if you're not that interested in it. Okay, we're set up at the bin site, ready to rock and roll once we get the trucks to the field. The classic 2 combines, 1 cart organization of my family. Got 1 combine running here on the east end of the farm, and the other combine is a half mile away on the west end of the farm. Gotta love that.
Dad. Beep, beep, beep. Guys. Beep, beep, beep. Open the door.
Our head radio operator is here helping open up the ends on this field. Shouldn't be too long. We're going to be in the long rows bringing off a lot of corn. Lenny's like his grandpa. He wants full control of the vehicle at all times.
There's a line at the elevator.
Yeah, there's a line at the elevator. They're not dumping the trucks fast enough. What a joke. I had to kick Allie, Lenny, and Graham out because with the 2 combines and these half-mile throughs, decent yields, and the recent tile install last fall, this is getting rather rough and it's not a good field for the family to ride in. There's really no other way to put this except for just to say that we are absolutely peeling the corn off this field right now. DeKalb 111.35, good black dirt, low-lying soil, probably got a little more rain because the surrounding topography puts water to this field. It looks like it's yielding tremendously, although I've not really dived into the numbers yet. Trucks are doing all they can on that half-mile trip to keep up, but we are just flooding that 13-inch auger right now. Other than something important breaking, the only thing that could really put a wrench in our plans is if the DOT showed up and set up scales here between this field and the bin site. Hard to find good help. The poor truck drivers don't even stand a chance right now. And that 13-inch auger can move a lot of corn. That just tells you how much we're bringing off with the 2 machines. Line's getting long. The bin site seems like a much quieter place when you're half-mile to the north and a nice sealed tractor cab. It's actually really loud here. It's about 6:30 on Sunday. We were actually running along great. Trucks were about exactly where we needed them, maybe a tad bit on the slow side. The reason we quit, other than it being Sunday evening and not wanting to put in a full hard day on Sunday, is that Dad's middle finger has somehow gotten infected and he thinks he needs to go to the emergency room. So he's going to do that tonight, and I'm gonna go spend some time with my family. Alrighty, nice and brisk morning. We're back at it. I saw Dad this morning. It looked like he had all 10 fingers, although you only really need your thumb on your right hand to operate the hydrostat on the combine, so we're probably good to go today. I'm not a doctor. If I had to guess, they probably just prescribed him some strong antibiotics. It was Sunday evening, so you really couldn't get prescribed anything anywhere other than an emergency room. Both combines have plenty of oil. I turned the batteries on, so other than unlocking the doors, they're ready to rock and roll. Interstate traffic is already zipping by this morning. It's gonna be a good day. To give you some perspective on what's going on right now, today is Monday. On Wednesday to Thursday, maybe Friday, they're calling for a 50% chance of 1 to 3 inches. I don't even know what that means, but that's what they're calling for. So if we get 3 inches, this ground will soak up a lot because we're so dry, especially in the subsoil. However, it will put us out of the field for at least 4 to 5 days, if not longer. So we're gonna try and get our wettest fields out right now, like this 125 acre field we started on yesterday, maybe a few other ones. And then also pick fields where the bin site may be more of an issue, like this bin site here, typically a little bit wet, so we want to try to get it filled up and not have to worry about it before the soft ground conditions kind of sneak up on us. This first bin is about 2/3 of the way full, so we will be moving to the next one within the next hour and a half. Poor truck drivers don't even stand a chance today because Dad has already got a full hopper in his combine and they haven't even fired up their trucks yet. Never good to start them behind with how much corn we move out and how little trucking capacity we really have in comparison. We did just do a really simple strip trial where Dad is picking right now to see if our nitrogen application amount made much of a difference on yields. Because we had all that tile work done on this farm and just the fact that it's wet, we didn't put on any fall anhydrous. So we came in with a one-shot side dress approach after planting, put on our entire load of nitrogen for the growing season. The target rate was 230 pounds across the field. In a strip right here, a 24-row pass, we played around with it a little bit. We did a pass at 200, which is 30 pounds lower than what we were targeting. And then the next pass we did 260, which is 30 pounds higher than what we were targeting across the field, to see if there was any return to nitrogen, whether it be a higher amount or a lower amount. Some of you may recall me talking about this in the spring. I still question whether or not we're actually efficiently using nitrogen. I really have a hunch, and maybe I'm wrong, that we don't need as much nitrogen as we think we do, especially when it's all in a side dress pass. That's the nice thing about this. It gave us an opportunity to kind of see, is there a yield difference? Did that 30 pounds of nitrogen, which probably cost, I don't know, 20 bucks an acre this spring, pay for itself, or was it just wasted money or expensive insurance on nitrogen leaching? This is the application map. Keep in mind, this is in gallons. They apply in gallons, not in pounds. The red strip is the 200 pounds and the green strip is the 260. The rest is supposed to be 230, but you get some variation depending on ground speed and different things going on. So this right here is what we're looking at. It'll take a few moments for it to even load onto the operations center, and I'm not even sure if I can run a very good report from the iPad. If I can, I'll show it to you right here. If not, I'll just kind of tag in a clip from home on my desktop computer where I can actually really look at the data and compare application pass to yield. Looks like both machines are about to take off. We don't have our supplementary truck driver today, so the trucks are pretty much screwed. I flagged the through that was the higher nitrogen and the lower nitrogen, so I should be able to just analyze this. This is the 260 pounds. I don't know if I grabbed the strip enough to make it correct or not. It says it made 264. Now that's according to the combine yield monitor, so that's not exactly gospel, but we can just assume the next pass over is probably the same level of accuracy. Then I'll just drag that up to this one. Okay, I think I moved it correctly. This is the 200 pounds, 266. So the less nitrogen did better. As it currently stands though, it looks like the less nitrogen strip yielded more. Based on the evidence and the data, assuming that the combine read the same thing or the same variation through the field on both passes, the conclusion that I'm coming to is not that the nitrogen hurt our yield with more. The difference we're seeing is just the infield variability between 2 or 3 different passes of farming. Could be soil type, could be topography. I mean, there's a million different things that can be accounted for. What we can safely assume in this field, in this microclimate, in this season, is that the higher nitrogen amount made no difference. So that was a 60-pound difference. You could assume that the 30 extra pounds we put on the rest of the field, comparatively speaking, also made no difference. Just goes to show you that you can throw the world at this corn crop and it really doesn't matter. All it comes down to is drainage, genetics, pH in the soil to allow fertility, assuming a minimum level of fertility, P and K, and some sort of nitrogen, and rainfall. That is the do or die for a good crop. You can put everything you want out here, and if it doesn't rain or it rains too much, you're not going to raise 300 bushel corn just by adding a little bit more sugar and spice. You need the sun, you need the rain, and you need the water to get off. The north bin's full, truckers are moving the auger to the middle bin. It's only a 26-foot bin, so it might hold 10,000 bushels. Once we get that full in another hour and a half or two, we'll move to the south 36-foot bin. Looks like we finally reached the end of this 123-acre field here south of Lakeland College. Yields appear to be about on par with everything so far, I think. If the combine operator can figure out what he's even doing. Dad just crossed the road with his combine to pick a different field of corn. We wrapped this one up. Sometimes I'm just not sure what my Uncle Chris is thinking. He could have just driven all the way down the lane and turned around at the nice wide filter strip. Instead, he's doing a 50-point turn. Truckers, can't live with them, can't live without them. Now hold on a minute there. I just noticed that my scales are set to soybeans. So I don't know why that is, but if I change this from soybeans to corn, we'll go to corn. Now we'll go back. Oh, that's better. Okay, we just picked our best corn of the year. All I needed to do was change the setting. 253 bushel an acre. Oh, I feel so silly. Changing from corn to soybeans makes a big difference because a bushel of soybeans is rated at 60 pounds. A bushel of corn is 56. So that bin I thought we didn't get very much in, we actually got 23,788 bushels in, which is pretty good for a 36-foot bin. Those trucks I thought I wasn't putting very much corn on, even though they were stuffed to the brim, they were most certainly overloaded. I'm not going to show you guys because I don't want to incriminate myself, but yeah, that was a lot of corn out there. Operator error, clerical error. That's the only problem with using the actual commodity shortcut calculations on here. If you just have it show you in pounds, you have to do the math every time, but I have it show me in bushels, so it has to know what crop's going in. Corn and soybeans aren't the same. As the grain cart operator, I can do no wrong, so disregard all of my problems I've created, and let's just be grateful that we've picked our best corn of the year so far. 253 bushel an acre, not bad. We do our best to be neighborly, especially on this farm. We've got a really nice bridge and this filter strip that gives people access to different farms along here. So we told the neighbors to the north a few years back, anytime they wanted to use our filter strip and our bridge to make their lives easier, they're more than welcome to do so, which they're doing right now. They said that it's actually surprising how few people are willing to share their things like this. It makes their life easier, and really there's no reason to not let them do it in our minds. Opening her up. We had to shut down because supposedly the auger broke down, and Katie and I were getting overwhelmed with grain. No reason to just sit here with everything running. We're gonna go check in at the bin site. Oh wow. Yeah, that's definitely not what you want. On top of the ram being completely outside of the cylinder, also looks like we got about 20 gallons of hydraulic oil over the frame of this thing. Oh, bent the frame a little bit too. That could have been bad. I don't even know what happened. Did it just come unthreaded? I'm not a hydraulic expert, but I know that's not the way it's supposed to be. It doesn't look like the cross member would be that hard to fix. Definitely needs replaced, or maybe it doesn't. It's definitely bent. I don't know if that's just from it falling down and slamming into that, or maybe the cylinder was sitting on top of the ram and the auger started to fold down on its own because the one cylinder wasn't enough and it bent that. I really don't know. Katie and I obviously weren't here. We finished that middle bin and they were moving that auger to the south bin. When they lifted it all the way up, supposedly one of the pistons just shot out and then the auger went haywire, and they said it looked like it was actually going to fall on the bins because there's only 2 cylinders, but they were able to pull it out and get it down, and I guess live to see another day here at the bin site. I'm bringing the other auger from home, which is the same exact thing. Hopefully it doesn't have the same issue. This is why it helps to have 2. Back to the combines and the grain cart. Because of Dad's finger infection, he's wearing a snowmobiling glove for protection today. Must be a little sensitive. Front half of this farm is finally finished. Now we get to go to the back half. We will probably have our last bin here done within the next hour and a half or so with how much corn we're pulling off between both combines. Lesson learned this year, sprayer guy needs to hang his boom over a little bit more, especially when you're farming both sides of the property line. You only had another 10 foot to go, Katie.
I know, I thought I could make it.
Yeah, I'd say the corn was definitely on your camera. There's also a little bit on your cab right now. I don't know if you heard that or not. Alrighty folks, we are venturing into another boring and repetitive evening of picking corn on flat black dirt. I will probably end the video here, start off new tomorrow, or this thing's gonna be 2 hours long. I definitely want to catch you on the next episode. We're gonna have to fix that auger, and we're picking some corn that's not necessarily special, but something that's really been killing it in the local plots this year, and actually the national plots, and it seems to be performing fairly well for us out here where we've got 25 acres of it. So I want you to tune in, check out how that does. We may pick a couple strips and weigh them to get an official yield and go from there. As always, everyone, I greatly appreciate every single one of you continuing to tune in and support the channel. Your viewership means the world to me. Catch you all in the next episode. Until then, make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. You know I'd love to talk about farming. Have a great day, everyone. Peace!